lot of changes may be happening. I think the most important thing from the government changes are first home buyer.
A lot for the first home buyer.
Yeah, so I know a lot of investors may be upset. People can't afford homes.
Yeah.
So,
I've never seen a developer reduce price. They just hold and they'll just slow down.
I think around 40 years old, they had paid off their mortgage.
It's just perspective.
Yeah.
It's my favorite word. It's perspective. You've got your parents' perspective, you've got what's out in the media's perspective, you've got other professionals like us and their perspectives and their different strategies. Just listen to them all. Why not? Educate yourself.
Do you think that will grow in value?
Oh, I think apartments time is soon. I'll be honest.
Oh, I really hope so.
Oh, me too.
It's our first episode back after the election.
I
Yes.
know.
Good to have you from Melbourne as well.
I know, it's nice to be here
she missed me.
with the team.
Yeah. Nice to have you face to face rather than through a screen.
I know. How good is it?
We've been
Just
working,
live.
8-9 months videos together, and this is probably the
I
first or
know.
second time I've seen you.
It's just
Yeah.
something about having that live energy.
Yes. I think you two recorded last time you were here, right?
November.
With
Yeah,
some
that was crazy because we spoke.
predictions that I wish we posted.
Oh, I remember I did so much research before that meeting. And
I'll take that one. That's my fault.
I had a similar graph to the graph that you use now with the Melbourne and Sydney. I did. I'll show you the presentation.
Well, do we have any clips of that?
No.
At all?
Raw and ready to share. So I'm sure we can
Is
tag
it raw?
someone. Yeah.
If it's raw, we'll just pop it somewhere just as a screenshot, just to say we've done it.
Yeah.
We'll
And
do
when
it.
I was surprising you with some Melbourne stats.
Yes. I think that was the first time we actually met. We're like, you know what? Let's go in the studios, record something, see what happens.
Yeah.
20 minutes of natural recording.
Yeah, because last year you were selling more Brisbane, some other areas.
Everyone wanted the Brisbane train set, but we knew that it was going to end eventually. We knew that something was going to burst, or just this market was shifting. So it was September, October that we started putting those feelers out. Some clients laughed at us, but look at them now. Every single person is now, I want Melbourne, I want Melbourne, I want Melbourne.
Yeah.
So,
There was no one on socials or no one anywhere.
Nothing.
who was
And
promoting
now
Melbourne.
every second ad that you see is all invest in Melbourne, invest in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And that's the problem too, yeah, because if you're a consumer, you're like one of our clients, yeah, is scrolling through Instagram or Facebook and all you see is in Melbourne.
Sweet, yeah.
Like where? And then people are going 4 hours away from Melbourne. Some people are going countryside. Some people are getting apartments. Like people are just focusing on the product now in Melbourne, not what the client may need, which is, I'm sure we'll talk
And
about.
yeah, from Melbourne you can get it really wrong. I mean, overall, no, but yeah, the type of product, yeah, you can get wrong.
Yeah, definitely. It
can
depends on their strategy, and that's what you two are the biggest on, is strategy.
Strategy is number one.
Why?
Yes.
Okay.
So-
We agreed on that last year. One thing we agreed on.
If anything. So what is everyone seeing at the moment?
What's up?
Obviously
What's our talking
election.
points?
The election
Election.
happened last
Yeah.
Saturday. Hopefully we all voted. I know some of
Some
our
of-
team did not.
Oh,
very
did
openly.
they forget or?
No, very openly
Oh, okay.
didn't want to be a part of it.
Okay.
So that's up to them.
Yeah, everyone has.
Yeah, I
Freedom of
voted.
choice.
I found a nice little quiet childcare. Went with my son. I was first in line. It was great.
How good.
It was very quick.
How good.
Yeah.
I found the signs to it going in at like 3 p.m. It's typically
Yeah.
right after lunch.
Afternoon.
Afternoon seems to work a lot better.
So
Yeah.
I got to my voting booth, and true story, I actually called Roger after. So I was filming about the election, what's happening, people around, and I got yelled at. Like, you cannot film. I'm like, I'm just going to go outside. You cannot film. No. So the booth manager, voting manager came in and said, you cannot film here, please delete the video. I'm like, okay, no worries, I'll delete the video. Then 5 minutes later, I'm seeing everyone else filming.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's because you look like a politician. I mean, it looks like you're about to run for office anyways.
yes, I was like, they think it's a good video, but anyway, we'll talk about it now. A lot of changes may be happening. I think the most important thing from the government changes are first home buyer.
A lot for the first home buyer.
Yeah, so I know a lot of investors may be upset, but there's a benefit to them as well, which I'm sure we'll unpack. What are you seeing as in terms of Labor winning, especially in our areas? Like, people can't afford homes.
Yeah.
So now if they are committing to 100,000 homes, which you told me I don't know how they're going to get to that target, how do you feel like they're going to get there?
Should we review what the 3 big things are?
Yeah.
Or 3 or 4 big
Let's
things
do
are?
that. Yeah.
First one?
I mean, the first one you mentioned is the first home buyer guarantee, I guess it's called, first home guarantee, and the lifting of the cap or the price cap on that. So I think it was 900,000 in Sydney, 800,000 in Victoria.
Now
or
it's
New
what,
South Wales.
1.5 mil in New South Wales and 900 in Melbourne.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Sydney's one just went skyrocketing.
It's a different league.
But doesn't that just show you now that people are making money in Sydney? So people who are sitting, they could be sitting on gold mines, or if they're not entering the market, like, what are they waiting for? If the government is saying that these are the new thresholds to buy property there, and still people can afford to buy properties for 1.5
But
mil.
who can afford that? I don't understand. Like, 5% deposit.
What's that? What's the caps on that? 1.5 mil? 5%?
150k.
150k? Ah,
That's
people
10
can.
That's 10%.
That's
10%, so
So half of that,
75.
75k.
75k.
Yeah,
I
that's
actually think
fine.
it's-
That's it. But I'm saying the repayments on that. How can
That's-
a first home buyer
yes.
afford those repayments?
You know what? I think you're right there. This is a true story, and you can fact check me all you like, and people online. In COVID, rates were 2%, 2.2%. So every single person went and bought the most expensive home that they could
Expensive
afford.
property.
And what they do, they all bought the expensive car, and they just refurb they hung crazily. Fast forward to today, that same property, which was costing maybe $4,000 a month, is now costing them $6,500, $7,000 a month. That repayment on their car, which was maybe $600 a month, is now 1.2k a month. And those kitchen renovations that was maybe 15k pre-COVID are 40k right now. So like, people don't want to change their lifestyle; they still want to buy their own home. But maybe it's time to start maybe changing or thinking differently, because all that is money that you're going to take out of your pocket, and those repayments, 6.5k, 7k a month. It's not, to me, that's scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know property investors that have 5 properties and they're only out of pocket $1,500 a month in their properties.
But, I mean, your first home, you're always going to have. That's the biggest, I think, investment you make, and
Yep.
for a first home, and it's going to be, I think, one of your most expensive mortgages for a lot of people, and especially for first home buyers if they're buying on their own. And I don't know what the stats are, but I think there's a lot of first home buyers just buying for
By
themselves.
themselves,
right?
yeah.
I think I saw some stats. 46% of first home buyers are women, and then the rest men. So that's not a bad.
Yeah, that's
Bad
pretty
good.
good.
Yeah.
Pretty 50-50.
But it's it's a lot of pressure. But we're talking what, $4,000 a month repayments on a $500,000 mortgage.
Yep.
But if you $1.5 million first home, that
Yeah, and I think this is the part where we need to educate our clients and people listening. Because you can buy your first home for 1.5 mil. Your payment's going to kill you. Are you telling me that you're never going to buy a car? You're never going to go on
You locked
holidays?
yourself out.
Yeah.
You're not going to go out to a restaurant once a week? Like, are you really going to stop your life?
Yeah.
The answer's always going to be no, but no one's forecasting or planning for them.
Yeah.
And that's when strategy is the key.
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
coming back to those caps as well, like you mentioned, it shows kind of the growth that's happened in Sydney,
Yep.
and Melbourne is kind of falling behind. But we know that from obviously what we present in our webinars, is that Melbourne does fall around 10 years behind Sydney.
Why is that, Luke? Why is that?
I can go on and on right now. Throughout history, 1995 was the data set that I've got, all the way up to 2022, basically. Melbourne and Sydney are exactly the same when it comes to growth. Only difference about 500,000, 450,000
Yeah.
in price graph.
Apart from one time, 2007, 2008,
GFC.
yeah, GFC.
I think
And
Sydney
now-
took a greater hit during that GFC
Yeah.
period. Was that
They
correct?
did, yep.
Yeah.
And
Reason-
now,
It's just it's basically the same place, in our opinion as well. I live in Sydney. I've been to Melbourne many times, culture-wise, livability-wise, people-wise,
So can I-
demographics.
can I say so? From the government, they've put those caps on property,
Mm.
and then I looked at it. What was Sydney 1.5, Melbourne 1 mil. What were the other states?
I've got them over. They hover around that 600 to 800. It's actually quite a big disparity. Let's just pull it up now.
So
Sorry,
Sydney is 1.5, Melbourne is 950, Brisbane a mil, Adelaide is 900,000, Perth 850, Hobart 700.
So Melbourne was 950,
Yep.
and Brisbane was
Yeah, I
a
wish
mil.
these were in order, but
I know.
Yeah.
Brisbane a mil, yeah,
Okay.
and Canberra also a million.
How do they come up with these figures?
I have no idea.
It feels like a shot in the
It's
dark.
crazy. It's crazy to me that Brisbane is $1 million and Melbourne's still behind it, and even Perth is only 100k difference between Melbourne, even though Melbourne has and still has the most potential to outperform nearly everywhere. And these guys, you told me one point that still confuses my brain. The population in Melbourne is greater than Sydney,
Yeah.
which I still can't believe.
And living here, I still don't believe.
Yeah.
But you go to the city, you feel it. People really stay in Melbourne.
Yeah, it's that
Especially migrants
population
as well.
density.
Yeah.
as well.
Second thing the government announced, so outside the 5%, 100,000 homes that they're promised to build, $10 billion fund that they're going to do so.
Yeah.
What are our thoughts?
You go.
Well, look, I think, it'll be interesting to see how the government will roll that out. I don't want to judge. I just want to be really happy that they are committing to contributing 10.6 or whatever billion dollars for new housing. I think that's exciting. Right?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Can they do it? That's the most burning question.
I don't. I mean, if you do the sums, that's $100,000 per property. You can't build a house for $100,000. You know, an apartment probably can't even build for $100,000. So it'll be interesting. All I'm saying. That also, you know, it equates to, you know, I was saying before, 300,000 properties per year.
I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
There's kind of two ends of the spectrum from my end. I love that they're building new houses. It's probably the first policy where they're tackling at the source. It's not just demand, let's give you money, start buying property. It's the first time where they're like, hey, here's the problem, let's start building properties. How good? The problem is, yes, fulfillment. I think they're already behind on that, but it doesn't mean they're not trying. And I think what I appreciated is that Labor has made a decision to make it easier for first home buyers, and we just have to wait and see. Right. What I'm more interested from a research standpoint is where those properties are being built, because those are the typical places that you actually want to be in.
Yeah, I mean, definitely if we look at Melbourne, they'll follow Melbourne's existing plan, city plan.
They're not just
they're
going
going
on.
to go to those northwest regions of Melbourne because they're already building infrastructure there. Like they're already growing those areas. It's going to be a
We
no-brainer.
should elaborate on those city plans because a lot of people, even until you showed me, don't even know that exists. So if you're looking at it from a city point of view, our area is like the southwest point of Sydney. Just the government put so much money and infrastructure into those areas, and right now it's people want to live there.
Yeah.
That's going to happen to Melbourne, and there's those spots where you said Melton, Wynnum Vale, and Mickleham, correct?
Mickleham, yeah, up north.
So like you're right, they're not just going to build anywhere. They're going to stick to those hotspots, those locations. Sorry, but I just don't see him getting to that target. I cannot see him get to that target.
Well, was that target for first homes or was that
It is first home.
first home
It's
buyers?
a fund for
Yep.
first homes. 10 billion for 100,000 properties. What's that for per property? 100,000?
100,000.
Or was it a mil? It's 100,000.
No, 100,000.
It's 100,000. Where that money goes,
Yeah, and
Who-
again, with a home is a home, a house is a home, an apartment, you know, or are they? Is that part of the? Because there's the other scheme that they're 40% the
Single
ownership.
Yeah.
They want.
that one's always confused me. So that's the third thing. They're increasing the threshold or increasing the income barrier to allow the government to purchase 40% of the home for you.
Yeah.
And I think you can go down to what, 2%?
Yeah,
deposit?
there's a lot of different variations to this, but the one that they're promoting is the government will help contribute 40% for new homes and 30% for established homes. How that policy does work, we're still yet to know. One thing's for certain though, as an investor myself, it's a good time to start buying new property because if they're promoting 40% ownership on that, as a still young person myself, if I was to go live anywhere, I had the option between an established option and a brand new option. I'm always going to go to a brand new option.
100%.
And people online will be fighting me saying, no, you want the established option, it's bigger, it's this. I'm like, okay, it's a new age, we're all working so hard. I don't want to go cut 300 square meters of grass every single weekend. I don't want to go renovate a kitchen and pay 40k to renovate that. I don't want to worry about the trees dangling everywhere or having all these landscaping issues at the front of my house. A brand new home just allows us to just live there, worry about the nice things in life, our family, going away, lifestyle benefits. And yeah, maybe a little bit more expensive than an established property, but it's because you can have a better lifestyle in the new property in comparison to the old established property. And people are still struggling to find that gap that it's okay to live in the brand new
Interesting.
property. And now I'm seeing it slowly clients come around because if like right now in our area, Southwest, if I'm going to buy an established property for 1.3 mil, 1.4 mil, or something that's brand new for 1.5, 1.6 mil, that 1.3 mil established property is going to cost me at least 100k just to get it right to feel like home. At the end of the day, everyone likes new phones, new clothes, new shoes, likes going to new hotels. I'm sure when you put it that way, new property is nice. But we don't look at it that way because we all want the dream of what our parents had and our grandparents had, which, trust me, I want that as well. But it took them, 30, 40 years to get the house right. They, over time, renovated it. The salary to debt ratio was completely different back then. So these are things that we just don't look into. This is reality at the end of the day.
The gap's not even that big though. From the new properties that you're promoting, the new properties that we're looking in our locations, they're not even that much different to the existing ones there.
Yeah.
In fact, the existing properties there already have a certain land limitation based on how those areas were zoned.
Yeah, because it all happened in Sydney, and maybe Melbourne will follow suit eventually. About maybe 7 or 8 years ago, what we saw especially in Sydney, in southwest Sydney was everyone getting 500 square metre or 550, knocking down building a duplex.
Yeah.
Because it was affordable back then. People were like, this is different. I want a new home. I want to knock down and build duplexes. 10 years ago, it would have cost you 450, 500k to build a duplex. Fast forward to today, the same duplex to build, 1 mil minimum. The land's got expensive as well. Costs have increased. There's stamp duty costs to do that. So people aren't doing that anymore. As a first home buyer, if I'm going to get into that, I was back then priced out of developers and people who wanted to build. Right now, people can't afford to build, but the price is still high. So you've got so much more established homes on the market right now in comparison to newish, circa 2 to 5 year old homes. It's because, again, the mortgage payments are super high, but if they are paying those super high mortgage repayments, they want a new property for it. We can't afford to have our 40k safety buffer for an emergency fund going to renovating the kitchen or putting air conditioning or
Yeah, it's
these little things.
that maintenance and the upkeep of that existing property.
Oh, I mean, if you think about, and again, I don't know the stats, but I'm assuming most first home buyers are millennials in that sort of generation.
Yeah.
And first home buyers, you obviously need a job to be a first home buyer, so you're sort of saving, so you're in some sort of, you're busy with your life and, you know, having a great time in your life at that time. But, you know, and then who's got the time for all of that? You know, you want, you want the low maintenance, you know. Years ago, you'd think, oh, I want a big backyard, so, you know, my kids can play in the backyard. Kids now, they go to the play centres, they go, you know,
all these
to
nice
bounce.
parks, the council. Yes, bounce. I like bounce.
It's not even that you pay for that backyard now. It's not a given. Like back then, you would say, hey, I just opened and purchased a property and it has a backyard.
Yeah.
Now it's the opposite. I pay for that backyard. That extra square meters costs me 35% more to have that space. So I think we just have to switch up how we really think about it and what we value. Not saying that I don't love a backyard. You still rent in a place that has an amazing backyard. And I think just from, especially in Sydney, perspectives has to shift.
Well, it is perspective because, I mean, I live in Melbourne, in Albert Park, so it's, you know, it's very inner city suburb, very expensive suburb, cost per square metre. I don't own there, I rent there, but anyway, but there's no backyard. You know, yet. So it's no longer even, it's shifting that mindset that I must have a house, I must, like a lot of first home buyers, I think I must do the right thing, I must have a house with a backyard. And it, you know, some first home buyers would even think, you know, big 30 square home, or, you know, I need this because this is going to be my last home, rather than actually thinking, no, how about I buy the best that I can afford that's going to have, because this is what I would be doing if I was a first home buyer. I would be buying with the investment mindset. I would be sort of sacrificing a little bit where I lived and sucked it up for 6 months or a year. Oh, actually, a year.
To make most of the grants.
Make most of the grants. And just think, okay, where can I buy that's going to have the most chance of growth? Yeah, and
we're seeing that more and more with anyone coming through as well.
You know what the need is? When am I going to be able to afford my second property? Because some people get stuck in their first home, they don't get the capital growth, or they get stuck in, and I've had friends now that are still with their first home and they're in their 50s, and they've gotten some good capital growth over time, but their home has been unrenovated all that time because life just happens. You know, so I think it's just thinking about what's that second step and make that dream the second step, and then just make whatever right first step you need and get the strategy.
You hit the nail on the head there. I want to go back to your webinar now. What a lot of people did 6-7 years ago, the Hills area. So the Killyville, the Hills area, Balcombe Hills, Schofields, all these, that whole region. People took advantage of all the grants, and it was a bit further out from CBD, Back then was.
Bro, back then it was nothing.
But people taking advantage of all the grants. 500k, they can get a brand new home, 250 square meters. Took advantage of all the grants, and right now, the other clients come back to us. Daniel, I'm sitting on 500, 600k equity.
What now?
What do I do now? And you want to put yourselves in these positions. So if there's one thing that I could say is, if you are a first home buyer and you really want to buy your first home to live in, take advantage of all those grants and think like an investor. Because all those clients were like, okay, I'm going to go live in this suburb that is brand new. So already you're thinking like an investor, because you're going to be like, what are they going to build there? What's going to happen? Infrastructure, shopping centers. Now they've got the metro train system, the train lines are in now. So now people who want to work in the CBD in Sydney, they can live in the Hills area. Same in Mount Annan. There was these four-bedroom townhouses or duplexes that were selling for 500k, home builder grants. They took advantage of all the grants. 6 months later, they either moved out of the property, made an investment, they made 400k equity, off they go. Now they're investors again. It's that mindset you need to have, even if you're a first home buyer, to take advantage.
Every time I speak to you, you make me feel bad about my personal decisions.
Don't do that.
I took up every grant purchasing in my first investment property in Macquarie. I've said it multiple times on webinars and videos, but that property took up every grant. Home builder, first home buyer, everything. Clean sweep, 50k in my pocket. Loved it.
Wow.
Wish I did it in one of those growth areas in any other state. To this day, I would happily forego all of that just to be in that better spot.
But then I was going to say, so then the flip side is suck it up, live there for 12 months. But if it's in another state, rent vest. I mean, no one thought about rent vest years ago.
Cop the 15 grand you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Or, in all honesty, cop the 15 grand you're going to lose. You're going to have a renter in there to cover that, rather than you forcing yourself to stay in a place that is paying off a mortgage anyway. So there is a calculation there that Daniel loves to run. And sometimes it makes sense for people. Something I really appreciate about yourself is you don't say that, hey, in order to invest, you'll never get to that property that you actually want to live in, right? You always find a way, if that is their goal, to say, hey, property 1, property 2, property 3, time frame, by then, that is when you can start really having options to buying even bigger than what you currently have aimed, rather than all eggs in one basket, buy a home, let go. That's what my friends are doing. Doctor friend of mine, $3.2 million home, $2.8 million loan. He's paying $200,000 in repayments.
What?
That's my income,
What car does he drive?
right? It's my income in interest payments, and he just went through that emotion, and he couldn't wrap his head around it.
But no one's ever going to teach you or tell you differently, and that's the one thing. That's why we're in business. We're trying to help people that there is an alternative way of thinking, and that's been a stigma for a lot of people, myself included. Like my first property, I had to look at it as a hybrid, even though nearly 95% of my family said don't do it. I'm like, this property can be easy to invest. It's not old, it's kind of newish. It has some grants. I don't want to live in it. If I was to rent it out, I'll get these benefits. So that's the way I looked at my first property, which now doubled in value. If you just look at the market like that, you'll have a much better 10, 12 years, because you will know how to think differently, which everyone in the same market, including brokers, bankers, real estate agents, even advisors, all they know is, what's everyone saying? The labour, these are all the grants. Yeah, that's fantastic. But what does it mean for you if you are entering the property market, regardless of what it gives to you right now? Because everyone just thinks of, I want that right now. I want that phone right now. Okay, you're signing a 36-month contract. You're stuck with that phone for 3 years. Same as the market. If you take that grant right now, you're stuck on that property potentially your whole lifetime. You might be stuck in that jail for the next 25, 30 years, and then you're going to hope that equity grows. People in hills areas, they knew that infrastructure was coming. People laughed at them for living so far out from the CBD. Now, we all wish we bought there, so that mindset is right.
But I think also, I mean, let's talk about the first home owners grants, first time buyers, but also the effect that then has on investors. Like, so, and in particular, like, okay, 1 billion dollars, the 100,000 home, did we say 10,000?
10 billion.
10 million,
100,000
homes.
Yeah.
Right? So let's think about that, and that's okay, even if they are able to construct that, what's been the biggest issue in construction industry for the past few years?
Rising prices, delays.
So labour costs and construction costs.
Material costs.
So we have a government now that's going to fully support all these extra homes being built. What's going to happen with those? They're going to rise even more. So incorrect what you're saying, Luke, that it's good that you're highlighting construction of a brand new home is not that different for an established home. So now's actually a really good time to be looking at brand new, because you know what? The minute that there's all these $100,000, how many properties? 100,000 properties. I can't even get myself into concept of those numbers. 100,000 properties in construction, that's going to go up even more, you know. And not to mention, I think also, I know from a Melbourne perspective, Melbourne hasn't had a great ride the past since 2021. A lot of the land developers have been very slow at releasing land. So much so, I remember last year, I think we were looking at some land and you were kind of shocked to see, it's all titled land. Like, that doesn't normally happen, but that's around.
They were just
now.
holding on to it.
Yeah, so the developers have also been pulling back their prices. They haven't been, I mean, they've had also high increase, and I speak to the land developers, they've had high costs, increasing costs, but they haven't been able to put up their prices for the past 4 years. So again, there's a couple of factors there bubbling.
I find the audience can, every time I speak about it, they can either take two perspectives of it, which is, oh, nothing's really happening, it's a little slow, but you never get a chance to hear this perspective of developers reducing prices and wanting to get rid of stuff. That's when you want to be in anywhere.
Yeah, and so can I say, because I've worked with developers for many, many years, developers never, well, I won't say never, maybe 5 years ago, maybe in some areas, but since then, I've never seen a developer reduce price. They just hold, and they'll just slow down. They'll slow down their land releases. Right, so a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to wait till the prices come down.
Good point.
They're never going to come down. You're just going to catch up
True.
and then think, oh, okay, now that
That's
seems like
reasonable.
good value.
Yeah.
So buying
That's
today,
true.
you're never going to get cheaper. Construction costs aren't going to go down. Labour costs aren't going to go down. The land costs for a developer isn't going to go down. And all of a sudden, we're going to have 100,000 properties that are going to be built by the government.
Specifically for first home buyers too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's that going to do, I guess, to the rest of the supply, because the construction industry is going to be there to support that.
It'll just take up more land, it'll just build out, and it'll be less land available in the future, which means prices will naturally follow a little bit higher. We've seen this all before numerous times. We're laughing because it's like,
Yeah.
it's quite obvious.
Yeah.
What about timeline? I know RBA is coming out. May 20th is when we get a few rate drops for
Yeah.
people that own property. Us, we get a bit lower interest rates, lower repayments for people that haven't purchased property. They get to borrow a little bit more.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most exciting milestones in the last 4 years.
I think it's exciting for us because we're investors already, so we get excited by the fact that there is a rate cut coming, but even more so for the fact for our clients. Their borrowing capacity will go up, yes, but it's more important that they understand the impact that that has on the market as well, because it's going to mean more people are in the market, yes, driving prices higher, meaning they need to get into the market soon.
I'm a little bit more selfish. I understand people are now able to purchase a bit more property. As someone that kind of holds a couple,
Yeah.
I think it means we get a bit of a boost for our side of things too, as an investor. I think this wave of people able to purchase, every time we've seen people able to purchase, it just so happens that my properties go up. So I'm just something that I've noticed.
It's going to be the most, and I've been yelling about it for the last 2 weeks now. It's like a countdown timer.
Yeah.
So the next, what are we now? May 6th?
14 days
14
left.
days. I love that number. My favorite number actually. So we've got 14 days until May 20th hits. So I told everyone on our latest webinar, what everyone's going to do, they're going to wait till May 20th, they're going to see the rate cut, then they're going to try and get in contact with their broker the day after, the week after, and then they're going to be go through the approval process, get their docs together, and before you know it, they're priced out of the market. And I said this once, and I strongly believe in it. If you don't want to act now, you want to wait, you could be leaving 100k on the table. Because I guarantee if the borrowing prices go up 100k, consumer confidence, rates are lower, you can purchase more. Developers can see that, agents can see that, vendors who sell their homes can see that. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put my price up 50 to 100k.
Yeah, I
People
think that
can
goes back to
afford
what
it.
you're saying. No, they don't put it down, but they definitely will put it up.
Oh yeah, they won't waste time.
It's
Yeah.
coming.
They
It
won't.
is.
They won't waste time.
Yeah.
They've already. I mean, I've already seen stage release of development in Sunshine, and the developers just waiting for that.
Great area.
Yeah, just for this little bit of a boost, and
His
yeah,
prices will go up.
there will be a price rise. How much? He still won't commit
Yeah.
until actually just seeing what that demand looks like,
Yeah.
especially in that under $700,000 price point.
That affordable bracket, that
Countdown
500,
timer is on.
500 to 700k mark is that sweet spot, and there's not going to be a lot left under that.
2020, so because if you look back into it, and this is like recent 5-6 years ago, 2019 what happened? 2019, 2020, 360k, 400k townhouses, like houses you can buy in southeast Queensland, north side of Brisbane, I was one of them. 450k, it's incredible, yeah? 2% rate's so cheap. Now, you fast forward to 2023, can't find that stock anymore because they're all like 800k, 900k, now they're still growing. Yeah, let's get to right now, 2024 and 2025. 2024, you could buy something in Melbourne 550, 580, 600k. It was possible. 2025, they're now going towards a 620, 650 price point. After May 20th, this rate cut, 700k is going to be the new standard. So we're not saying these things because we're just saying it out of, we're talking in the thin air. It happened 6 years ago in Brisbane. It happened in Sydney even 10 years before that. And now we're seeing it, we're living it, that it's actually happening right now. So the 14-day timeline is either you act now or you pay 100k more. As simple as that.
We always talk about, like you said, the 550 to 750 range is so crucial. Anytime one of these happens,
So crucial.
I've got a challenge. I've got a budget 650k, pre-approved, everything's ready to go, deposits ready. Challenge for you three. What options are available to me?
I can go all day.
Yeah.
Let's start with
What
Sydney.
good options we would recommend? Or
No,
what?
just options in general, right? So
Okay.
let's start with Sydney, 650k, and let's limit it to like a 60-kilometre radius out.
Okay.
What would typical
Well, I'm
people
out here
buy?
because I'll
Daniel,
leave it to the Sydney
Lara,
experts.
what are our friends buying?
first.
I mean, you'd have to look at apartments in Sydney for that budget.
Yeah.
Like, you'd have to. I don't think there's anything, maybe a small villa out west somewhere, if there's a developed suburb, maybe.
2-bed
If
apartment,
If- yeah.
75 square meters, that sound about right?
650, you're maybe just touching 650.
Maybe like, and you've got to push out to kind of that.
And I think even in
35K
some suburbs, you'd be looking at a one better.
Okay.
One bedroom in Parramatta with no car space is 620, man.
Yeah.
More.
It's gone up,
60
yeah.
the other week. Yeah. it's
660 for a
it's
one
something
bedroom, no car sport in
Yeah, one
Parramatta.
of the newer ones, yes.
There you go.
Okay, so Sydney,
your
that's really it. Okay. What
I'll add
about?
on to that. Do you think that will grow in value?
Oh, I think apartments time is soon.
I look-
I'll be honest.
Oh, I really hope so.
Oh, me too.
You're like, I need my portfolio to grow.
I feel you.
apartments,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Rent drops are decreasing. I'm able to borrow, so let me borrow. I just need more properties to grow. What about Brisbane? Daniel, Brisbane,
I love
650k.
Brisbane.
What else left? I know back 2 years ago we've got many options. We had Ipswich, still
I was
ish
going to say, I think you have to
available.
look outside Brisbane. I don't know what.
I cannot stand anywhere outside of Brisbane. Like, I like Brisbane, I like Sunshine Coast. Anything outside that corridor, like,
It's done?
you can't buy there.
Yeah.
Logan,
But I don't
like
think-
Logan, those areas.
Logan, you're getting a two bedroom for that price now.
It used to be.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long ago when it was 3-4 bedrooms,
Yeah.
house and land even then.
Like
Townsville.
a friend of mine
Right, to go
bought
that far.
in
Don't get me
Kedron.
started there.
A friend of mine bought in Kedron, which is in Brisbane, a couple of years ago for I think 700,000.
Yeah.
It's now valued at 1.3.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like insane.
Because think about it, construction cost for a 4-bedroom home in Brisbane is going to cost you 380 to 450. Let's be real. That's how much it's going to cost you. Where are you going to find them for 200k?
Yeah.
You can go to Glen Eagle. You might find something for 700k, 750 down there. But again, it's still 750.
Mm-hmm.
650. There's actually nothing left. You can say Gympie, but I think that's all sold out as well these days. There's not much left in Gympie. There's not
Especially
much left.
not new.
No, new, but that's what, because now Brisbane has that grant. If you're a first home buyer, you get a 30k, so
Yes.
it's doubled. So the poor locals are like struggling because I want that grant, and even customers last year, I was struggling to find stock for them in good areas and good pockets. Because now you go north side, you got Burpengary, you got Caboolture, they're still at 800k these
They're
days.
done. Yeah.
Like, and I can see now they're starting to build. Melbourne does this very well, even better than Sydney. They're starting to build terrace homes in Brisbane's, but the locals aren't liking it. Brisbane market owner occupies into the Melbourne market.
Yeah.
Owner
They need
occs.
space.
Yeah,
Brisbane
so
needs space.
I
They still
think
like space.
Brisbane's going to be in a bit of trouble in the coming
Good
years,
pickle.
unless they do some infrastructure. Because even the north side of Brisbane, there's no train line. Just it still hasn't opened up yet, so there's no transportation to get to the CBD unless you live in the southeast side, which now is one, overpriced, and two, it's not affordable
You
anymore.
can really see how they started to panic during COVID when
Oh,
so
yeah.
many people, they did not expect that kind
No.
of growth, that kind of people, that infrastructure. Congrats on them, they did really well. They're the second most expensive now.
Yeah.
But
And I think
didn't
to the
really
point
plan for
that
it.
you were making earlier, Lara, on the fact that, you know, who can afford in that price bracket, especially as a first home buyer. And I think Queensland is probably a good example of the government stepping in, because they can, I think it was proposed, I don't know if it came in, that they can rent out a spare bedroom as a
Yes.
first home buyer and have
That's
rental
crazy.
income.
Had to go
And
there.
so-
They're really going deep, like they're
Man.
thinking of anything that can help.
They are, but I guess that's what it's coming to. If they have to buy $1 million property as a first home buyer on a single income,
point there.
they have to have investment or rental income.
So then to think about, just to your point and to the government's point, let's just say if they can allow a co-living property now, or people to rent out a room, doesn't that just show us that the way of life is changing? We go back to the big backyard. they can't even have a normal home, a small backyard to afford that now, because now they're giving out rental incentives. So forget about the old backyard, the established home, because now you can't even afford
People like
anything
rooms,
these days.
yeah. People like to get 2 rooms.
Yes, that's crazy. So way of life is changing and adapting. So don't think about what happened 40, 30, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. You may be chasing a dream, a pipe dream. So focus on what you can get your hands on right now. Think like an investor, and that's where you'll make the most money.
And maybe that's right, because the old strategy worked for your parents. It
100%.
was different back then.
100%.
So maybe it is just needing to accept, yes, you can own your own home, but this is what the new strategy has to be.
You might find this weird, but I remember when I was 14, 15, my parents bought and sold the property. So, sorry, I was 13. They bought a four bedroom property, 1 bathroom with a pool on a 600 block. It was 445. I remember clear as day because it was number 6, because I liked that number back then. My favourite rugby league player. And then they sold it 2.5 years later for 485. They couldn't afford that property. But to me, like even when in my first years of investing, I'm like, why can't I find a property for 445 with a backyard and a pool? Like, why is it that hard?
Keep that in the back of your mind, don't you?
Yeah, because psychologically you're like, okay, that's what my parents did. That's how you buy a property. What do I know any better? It took us 3-4 years of seminars and events and understanding and clients, what clients went through to understand that, okay, the only way I'm going to get ahead is change my level of thinking. And trust me, I could have followed my parents' kind of pathway of this is what you buy, it's the only way you buy it, or I could have adjusted, and thank God I adjusted. But my parents are my best example of what not to do financially. Don't make that mistake, and that gives me confidence that when I share to people, don't make that same mistake that other people have made in the past. You need to think differently. It's a whole different time. You even need a laptop these days. You can use everything on your phone. So the world's heading a different way, but some of us are still thinking the old way of investing or even living. So
I have a similar kind of story, like, because I know my parents bought their property for I think 190,000.
crazy.
Yeah, insane. And so mine is more on the mentality of, like, I think around 40 years old they had paid off their mortgage.
It's even crazier.
Yeah. So
It's
in
not
my
bad,
mind,
no,
I'm
actually.
like, amazing. I can have my mortgage paid off by 40 years old, and now I'm like, I'm 600k in debt. Like, how am I paying this off in 10 years?
Make it happen.
Our incomes are higher.
Do you know what I mean? But obviously now I
Property's
have
growing
the
up.
knowledge to know what to do and what those steps should be. But
It's crazy.
It can be daunting
it's,
at first.
yeah, definitely, because it's something that you take from your parents growing up. You see what they're doing and what they've purchased, and if they've paid their mortgage off or not, if they bought an investment or not.
Again, it's about strategy, right? So is that someone's strategy? And a lot of people do get stuck because they don't think that next step. I bought my home, debt is bad, so therefore I'm going to pay this off as soon as I can, work hard, pay it down. They think they actually everyone thinks they own their home, and then they're like, I bought it for this, and I sold it for, let's say I bought it for 500,000, I sold it for 700,000, call it 10 years later, and or maybe not 10 years, maybe 4 years later, and I've made 200,000. Well, no, because what about the bank percentage? That 5% you're paying every year, or 7%.
It's crazy.
Calculate that, calculate your selling costs, calculate your buying costs of your new property if you're buying, and how much money have you really made? And this sort of follows that then. You know what, if you had that rent vest, renting somewhere, and then yes, you're paying your landlord, but you're not really paying your landlord, because if you're not paying your landlord, you're paying your bank. Is your landlord.
You're paying one or the other regardless.
Yeah.
That's a good segue for your webinar.
Your bank is
That's
your
why I need to
landlord.
watch it.
People do need to watch the
Yes.
webinar
Yeah.
if you think this is good.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about in the webinar, like think differently, where the areas to invest is hotspots, way of thinking, way of investing, way of using your money differently.
It's just perspective.
Yeah.
Like, it's my favorite word. It's perspective. You've got your parents' perspective, you've got what's out in the media's perspective, you've got other professionals like us and their perspectives and their different strategies. Just listen to them all. Why not? Educate yourself. Right? Watch these videos, try to understand. If you don't understand, that's why Daniel's here, Lara's here. Right? It's why we're here to give that piece, and
I think it's also really helps, and I'm not saying this just because I'm a buyer's advocate, but when you take that power, and you still want to have complete choice and knowledge before making such a massive buying decision.
People do.
Whether you're buying as an investor or as a first home buyer, but just have someone else on your side.
Yeah.
That's all. Someone else that has the knowledge, that that has the experience.
Done it themselves, done it for other people.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't understand that they're not actually giving up everything and putting it on your plate as the strategist. But I think we had a comment on one of our webinars recently, Lara. I think her name was Michelle from memory. And she was like, but I like doing the research and I like looking at properties. And I said to her, well, do you really want to be scrolling through REA and Domain? And how are you going to get the off-market deals from
Take my job.
developers
Yeah.
directly?
Please take my job.
Are you going to go to open houses by yourself? Like, we're not here to do it all for you. You still get to make the decision at the end of the day, but we'll present all of that for you so you don't have to waste your time.
That goes back to the psychology of what's happening right now. People want to make their own choices.
Yeah.
Like even, think about it, we all have the same phone pretty much. We choose different color, but what the telco company owns our phone, they're just paying outright. Same as a car, same as in a house. So different level of thinking.
What's interesting that I just thought about, when you purchase a property, you can go out and talk to a broker yourself, no problem. You can go out and even represent yourself as an agent, and
Yeah, you can.
you can do that yourself. What else can you do yourself? You can do the research yourself.
You can read the contract yourself if
You
you
can
really
read the
want
contract and review it yourself. The only thing that I find that people get in trouble for, like you can do all those things and kind of get away with it, is if you do your strategy yourself. Because strategy, you are limited to the perspectives that you are taught.
to. Your bias.
Right? You're biased natively by what you know. So it, in my opinion, it does take someone to come in, give you 5 or 6 more options for you to then filter, pick the right one with a strategist, find the property that meets. I think that's the key of what we do here.
As simple
It's
as
a
that.
great way to finish
Agreed.
it off, right? It's not so
Agreed.
much reading about the news, buyers grants, it's all great. It's just one of those perspectives that you need to consider, right? And it's something that you do really well.
Strategy.
Strategy.
The playbook.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Great podcast. Great video.